Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your co-host, Andria Carter.
And if you did not know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. How's it going, Andrea?
It's going great, John. It has been a very nice weekend where that heat finally broke, giving everyone some, just some cool breeze, a little windy and a little rain. But at least that heat index has gone down again until, it is now August. I can't believe it's August. So it's
I
going to heat
know.
back up again. But overall, I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm glad the heat wave is over for the most part. So that's kind of refreshing.
Oh yeah, it
Uh,
is. It is. It is. So
And we have a special guest with us today, and it is Wellyn Collins. She is a retired social studies teacher, retired from Cincinnati Public Schools, and at this time, she is the Ohio Unity Coalition coordinator in Cincinnati. So, how you doing, ma'am?
Fine.
All right. Now, before we get into our main topic, we have some chocolate news to discuss. So, Andrea, what is the chocolate news of the week?
well, it's this is a very interesting week for us. I think from the standpoint both locally and with the fact that Wellyn Collins is going to be on here talking with us about issue one, and we have a presidential election that we're learning a lot of history, whether people accept the truth or not, is really dividing the country right now. But I'm going to first say that the chocolate news, I'm going to begin the chocolate news with the fact that I attended two events over the weekend. One, there was a Stop of Violence event on Green Street in North OTR, which was very successfully attended. Everyone gave away some school supplies to some needy kids, and grandparents were helping out their grandkids, picking up backpacks and everything else, giving out great information. That was a wonderful event. And I think over 200 people attended that event from the OTR North area. And then on Tuesday was the National Night Out event, where all the police departments in the region held their community engagement event, letting people explore different aspects of policing, fire, city services. My colleague with the Community Partnering Center, he was very excited because he got to climb through the SWAT truck and get to stick his head outside the overhead opening, so he could stand up in the SWAT truck and be like waving. So he was so excited, just like a little kid. So that was the beginning of the week, and that's a nice lead in for a couple of law enforcement issues that are going on. One of them is Donald Trump got indicted by the third time by a grand jury. And this time it's for the January 6th committee. And what's interesting is that he's been twice impeached. This is the third grand jury indictment, but this is probably the one of the more serious indictments that he's going to face from the special prosecutor. He has been charged with 4 counts regarding the January 6th incident. He is right now, he's the only defendant in this charge, but there are 6 other conspirators who have not been named or not been indicted with this indictment. But the special prosecutor Jack Smith said that more will be, the investigation continues. So that means that these people mentioned in this indictment, even though they're not facing charges now, they'll be facing charges later on, which is, is just one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone is still talking about it because tomorrow at 4:00, I believe, he has to appear in he has to surrender to the federal courthouse again. And he is, how many times is he going to have to surrender and post bond?
I don't know,
I
but
don't have enough. I don't have enough money. I mean, and what's sad is his legal troubles are extensive. He's already facing more than 30 criminal charges in New York, over 40 in Florida, where he allegedly withheld and misused classified documents. He's now facing four charges regarding January 6th and trying to overturn the 2020 election. And he was still waiting to see what Georgia's going to do. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know some people said that he's trying to put on bravado and that he is saying it's fine, but quietly he is furious. He's scared and he's furious. He's very, very mad. And I think his PAC is going broke. They've already paid out $40 million in legal fees. And in fact, they have made a $60 million donation to some Republican organization. They have asked for a refund for that money because they're going to need it for his legal fees, which I don't understand. If he's a billionaire, why is he paying his own legal fees and not bumming off from people? But that being said, one of the side notes of this is that I think Republican parties, or the state Republican parties around the country, are starting to check their coffers and their donations because people aren't giving anymore. They're tired.
Yeah.
And the Michigan Republican Party, the Minnesota Republican Party, and I believe the Arizona Republican Party are all broke. I think one of them the Arizona one is so broke that they can't even afford to pay their rent on their office space.
Wow.
One is so broke they can't even pay their people. So I think the side effect of all of this is that people are tired of giving money. They're gived out. They're not giving money to anyone. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Ohio gubernatorial party. That being said, I'm going to move on because we'll have part 2 when he faces the judge and hear what he has to say. So the side effect of all what's been happening with the country divided and people moving in Donald Trump's steps, like DeSantis and the governor of Florida, God help us, in reaction to the new laws, the new collegiate standards to teach Black history in Florida, the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity has decided to relocate their convention due to these harmful, racist, and insensitive policies, and including what they are going to try and do to teach Black history about slavery. And so they moved their 2025 convention from Florida to another state. What was interesting, the Deltas held their national convention in Florida, and the Kappas also held their national convention in Florida. It was too late for them to change at the last minute, so they went ahead and held their conventions, but they both spoke up and said, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. And the Vice President Kamala Harris, in fact, went back to Florida a second time to talk about the hateful policies of Florida, especially regarding slavery and Black history. And in reaction to that, Ron DeSantis sent a letter to the Vice President asking her to come to Florida to debate the merits of Black history, especially slavery. And she's ignoring his letter and moving right on to other important issues. So again, that's an ongoing issue as well that we'll be watching as well. Again, in terms of another history-making moment here in Cincinnati, the old Hoffman School, which was shut down for a while, and then was converted to a church, and then a developer bought the church, and then some preservationists decided that no, this is such a unique building with its architecture, it should be stopped and it should be designated as a historic site, even though it didn't make any history. It was just because of the architecture. There was a fight. The planning commission said no to it. It was taken to city council. The city council committee debated it in I believe a 3 to 4 hour meeting, where at the end the committee voted 5-4 not to honor the designation. City council was supposed to vote today on this, and I believe it probably ran the same way. Again, it probably ended up being a 5-4 vote against the designation so that the developer can move forward and tear down the building and turn it into a mixed use development, which I think would bring new housing to the Evanston area. I should say new market rate housing to the Evanston area. It's kind of sad to see the school go, but at the same time, it was becoming too expensive to operate it, and to fix it up for it to be in use was too expensive. So it's cheaper to tear it down than save it. The other chocolate news that's coming on board is more of the entertainment factor. And John, you know more about this than I do. I think you're a fan of M. Night Shyamalan than I am.
I think M. Night Shyamalan is very hit and miss. He's a very hit or miss filmmaker. Like he started strong out of the gate with Sixth Sense, and that just blew everyone's mind. That movie was nominated for several Oscars. He was nominated for Best Director, Best Screenplay, and then he did Unbreakable, which was also a really good film, which took the superhero mythos and kind of, turned it on its head. And then he came out with Signs, and that was also a good film. However, after Signs, his films just started getting worse and worse and worse, and it kind of like culminated in the creative nadir of his filmography, which was Avatar: The Last Airbender. Anyone who's seen that movie and watched the TV series knows like how bad it truly is. But lately he's been he's been making a resurgence. Like he did the Split movie, that was good. The Visit movie, that was good. I think his TV series Servant just ended on Apple TV. That was pretty good. But overall, he's still hit and miss. But whenever an old M. Night Shyamalan movie comes out, it's definitely worth paying attention to. You were going to say, Andrea?
Didn't he do the knock on the door?
Yeah, he did Knock on the Door too. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, that just came out this year. I haven't seen that one, but it
Yeah.
contains I'm sure it contains another one of his famous twist endings. So,
Well, my hairdresser is a huge horror film fan.
oh yeah.
So getting my hair done, I ended up watching the movie.
Don't spoil anything.
Um, I would have to say it was very well done. The
Okay,
cinematography alone was beautiful.
right.
What was in it, it was it's going to test you morally, and it's going to test you emotionally.
Gotcha.
And, and that's all I'm going to say. But
Okay.
the ending is like, really? But it's going to test you. As a person, it will test you.
Gotcha. So it's the perfect movie to see with friends and family. Got it.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
uh,
But I mean, he's coming to Cincinnati.
yeah, he's filming his next project here, which is supposed to be called Trap. Um, and it's actually interesting because he usually films his movies in his native Philadelphia because that's where he's from. So it's interesting to see him do a change of pace. But yeah, it's a movie called Trap, and it's in pre-production, obviously, because writers are still on strike and actors are still on strike, so we can't really do anything. I hope someday M. Night Shyamalan can recreate the success he had with The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and Signs, because that was his definitely creative high point. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's had some hits every now and then, but not quite as much as like late 90s, early 2000s, because Newsweek magazine had that famous cover. You say the next Spielberg. I think that kind of cursed him, in my opinion. But whatever. But it's like it should be a good film whenever it comes out.
I mean, the fact that the movie is described as a psychological thriller set at a concert.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just creepy. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
psychological thriller at a concert.
Yeah. I do enjoy me some psychological thrillers. So,
I
but
do
here's
too,
hoping.
but at a concert, come on. Anyway,
I'm just glad Cincinnati's getting more film work because this is a nice city to film in. So, more movies that film here, the better.
yes. And so the last, the last but not least chocolate news of the week, I think it caught everybody by surprise. Lizzo is in the news.
Yeah, for all the wrong
Normally she's
reasons.
pulling some stunt with what she's wearing or what she's doing, but she's been slapped with a sexual harassment lawsuit. Um,
Yeah.
for creating a hostile work environment where she is weight shaming and sexually denigrating behavior to a couple of dancers. And I'm just kind of like, well, is Lizzo, who one aspect has no shame and then it has some shame. She does play the mean piccolo, but still, um, this is shocking. But at the same time, I read about the incident and what the critical actions of what she's being accused of took place in Amsterdam when Lizzo and her crew visited the red light district. Now, if anybody who knows about Amsterdam and knows what the red light district is, certain behaviors go on there. Not that you should participate, but it sets up a scenario of something is going to happen. And unfortunately, some people were forced to do something they didn't want to do when they were attending a show in the red light district. And from there, other things escalated. I would just say that it's surprising, but it's Lizzo,
Yeah.
and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Lizzo has not said anything. She has not answered the complaint. But I think that the fact that we saw her recently, the latest picture release of Lizzo was at the set for what is the story about the guy with the key with the ring? The Rings. That movie set.
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why it just couldn't come to me. She was visiting the Lord of the Rings set. I guess there
Right.
was some set up that you can visit, and she was looking very sedate, blending in well, blah blah blah. I was like, I think you messed up. I think you went a little bit too far, and you're now trying to rein it in.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's Lizzo. So I mean, all we can do is, just because you're a size does not mean you can't discriminate and fat shame anybody else. So,
Yeah.
but that is all the chocolate news for now. I would just ask everyone to stay tuned with the Herald website and chocolate news, because as things break, we'll be back and let you all know. So that's all my chocolate news for now.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Andrea. And now it's time to move on to the main part of the story. And like I said earlier, our special guest is Wellyn Collins, and she is a retired social studies teacher, and she retired from Cincinnati Public Schools in 2012, and now she is the Ohio Unity Coalition coordinator in Cincinnati. So, how's it going, Wellyn?
It's going well. I'm ready for the election to take place and be over because it's nonstop. But it's worth it. Um, I
Yeah.
just saw, I just saw on the news that they're expecting us to hit 20 to 30% voting in this special election, and that never happens. In
Really?
fact, that's why they have it in August. They didn't think people would go out and vote.
I see.
And
So usually, like, what's usually? I'm sorry. What percentage do they usually expect the special elections to be?
10, 15%.
Mm,
Um, in August, they just do not expect people to vote. And the ironic thing is, the state legislator had just passed a rule that they would not have any more August elections because of the expense. And right after they passed that, they scheduled the August 8th election. And as we tell people, it's because they did not expect us to go out and vote.
gotcha. Now, can you tell our listeners, especially those who aren't familiar with Ohio politics, what is issue one and what's at stake?
Okay, issue one is to try to change the requirements for citizen-led initiatives to pass, or amendments to pass, by 60% instead of the 50% plus one that it has been over 100 years. And the reason they're doing that is to make it harder for us to get any issue that's important to us passed. Say, for instance, we get on the ballot to raise the minimum wage, as we know that that's important because we want people to have a living wage. It would take 60% of the voters in Ohio to pass that, as opposed to a simple majority.
I would say, isn't it also they're changing how we take the steps to get something on the ballot? I know right now it only takes signatures out of 44 counties with
Okay, right. Right now it takes 5% of it takes signatures of 5% of the registered voters in 44 counties to get it on the ballot. If issue 1 passes, it will require 5% of all 88 counties in order to get it to pass. And I was looking at a post from somebody that wants you to vote yes on it, and they were saying, well, the people in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland are the ones that always get everything on the ballot, and the people in the smaller counties do not get it. Well, it's the people. How many people are signing those petitions? The people in those smaller counties can get 5% of their people to sign those petitions also. In fact, the numbers would be a lot smaller because they have a smaller population. So imagine having to get 5% of the registered voters in Hamilton County to sign something. That's a major effort. So, yes, they're
that
talking
is a
about.
major effort. I would just say that, what about the billboards? What is the reaction of people? Because I've seen a number of billboards around the region where they have a Black family on a billboard saying vote yes on issue 1.
And did you look at the name of the organization sponsoring that? It was the Frederick Douglass Foundation. So my phone bankers came in very upset about seeing those billboards. We
I've
looked
never
up
even heard of the Frederick Douglass Foundation. I didn't even know it
well,
existed.
there is an actual organization called the Frederick Douglass Foundation, but when we looked it up, we saw that it was sponsored by the majority population. Well, they're not the majority population anymore, by the Caucasians. They had a few Black people that they had put up, but the majority of the organization was run by white people.
Mm.
And we don't know if that family they put on their billboard is an actual family or not. You know, we can go on internet and get anyone that we want
Yeah,
and
it
put
looked
them
to
on a
me. It
billboard.
looked like it was a generic looking family from some graphic site. It doesn't look
Right.
like something you would see in Cincinnati all the time. But
And isn't it strange that they put it in our neighborhoods?
yes, because I've seen it in off of Norwood Lateral. I have seen it off of 75 a little bit. And it's like in small little areas, small little town areas, I've seen the billboard pop up in very unique areas of where people can see it or don't see it. And I thought it's a battle. And then, some people are saying it's a battle over the abortion issue or reproductive rights, and not a battle over the right that we should have the right to put something on the ballot, whether for people to get a vote on.
And that's why Ohio Unity Coalition steered away from promoting it with that in mind, because we need people to understand it is not one issue that is at stake. Women's reproductive issue is supposedly on the ballot in November, although I hear that Brinkman and someone else has filed a suit to stop that vote. But it's gone to the Supreme Court. But our issue is there will be issues that affect us personally. Like I said, raising the minimum wage. It could be laws to hold police accountable for killing unarmed people, or it could be about our education, educating our students. So there are a lot of issues other than reproductive issues, although that's important to me, people having a choice. I don't think we should be taking away people's choice, but this is not a one issue thing for me.
No, I mean
There are a lot of issues that we as a community need to put on the ballot. And I've just named three of them.
well, I mean it's kind of like that. The harder that a group of people work to preserve their power, the more that they're in a way losing their power because people are recognizing what's going on and they're not stupid and they think we are. And I take offense to that. I really do. But I would say, especially for the Black community, it seems like there's a war on the Black community to vote this way or vote that way, and not really recognizing that we might be a little more astute when it comes to voting than you might think, because we've experienced all the tricks of the trade that you have thrown at us, and we're very adept at adjusting and keep moving forward. What do you say to that? What do you tell the community members when you're speaking with them about this issue?
I am pleased to say that our people understand a lot better than people think they do. We've been making phone calls for over 6 weeks to people in our community, especially people who vote in our community. I've been walking around talking to people. In fact, that's when I met you, is at the a Brady Block party. People are saying, yes, I'm voting, and I'm voting no because I want to protect our rights.
And,
Our people know that our rights are at stake. Now, unfortunately, we're still running into people who do not know what's going on. But once we explain it to them, they said, oh, yes, I will make sure that I get to the polls to vote. And that's why you have more people voting early than ever before. Well, maybe not, they vote early in presidential elections or those type, but not in an August 8th election.
what about our
It's
young people? Because I know that's the future of voting, our young people. How many of our young people are coming out to vote, especially, and do they understand what this is all about?
I think that they are coming out in numbers we haven't seen before. I don't have the statistics on it, but when I've gone to the polls twice, once to vote myself and then once to take my husband to vote, and there were a lot of young people, especially young women, there voting. And we have talked to young people and they understand. In fact, they may be voting for it because of the reproductive issue. That may be one of the reasons they're voting.
Oh,
So
okay.
it might be that we may have two different issues, but it's causing us to vote no just the same.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's a very important issue. Democracy is a very important issue. I know we our legislature needs a change. We've been under one party for a long time of leadership, and hopefully people will step up and recognize that we need new blood leading us, and we need to keep our voice healthy and happy and out there as much as possible. So,
Right. One thing I wanted to say is a lot of people say that we need to protect the rights in Ohio, but I don't think people understand the amount of money that is being invested in this campaign from donors outside of Ohio. And we're talking about millions of dollars that have been contributed to this campaign by outside donors because they want Ohio to follow the direction of Florida.
oh,
So
I
we
don't
need
think
to think about it.
I mean, but I don't think I know Ohio is crazy. Well, I shouldn't say crazy. That's not the right word. I know Ohio is unique, and we have done a number of things, but I don't see us going by the ways of Florida because we don't have a Ron DeSantis leading us. I mean, everything that our governor has done, I don't agree with. But at the same time, I don't know if that would work here. We have too many strong central areas that will put up a fight against what Ron DeSantis has done in Florida.
We hope.
We hope, I should say. I mean, especially since we have two historical Black colleges here. We have some strong urban areas that have a strong voting voice. But at the same time, you just never know.
Okay, because look at the Black colleges that we have in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it's important for us to get out and vote to prevent that type of stuff from happening in Ohio. So you've just given us another reason to vote.
Is anyone from your coalition going to be marching in Washington on the anniversary of the March on Washington at the end of the month?
I imagine so, but I can't say for sure. We're focusing only on the issue right now. So next week we'll be able to talk about other things that are coming up.
Okay.
But our leader, Petey Talley and Deidre Reese, have told us about other events that have been coming up, and they've invited us to attend those events. So we will see what happens in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for coming on board, talking to us about issue 1. And I hope everyone gets out and vote. And John?
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. And again, I just want to remind everyone, make sure you vote for the special. If you're in Ohio, make sure you vote for the special election. It will be next Tuesday, August the 8th. It's your future. If you care about your life and how, I mean, I know some people don't care about politics or just apolitical, but this is definitely one election you should definitely vote in. And it's not going to take long. It's just one issue on the ballot, right? It's just issue 1.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one issue. And if you all don't mind me plugging an event we have coming up on Saturday, is that okay?
Yeah, go for
it. We have the Black Votes Matter bus that is coming on Saturday from 10 to 1. It's going to be in the parking lot across from the Urban League. We will be giving out food. There will be music. We will be giving out prizes. So it's a good time, but it's another way that we're trying to get people to understand the importance of voting.
All right. So I will put that in the bio link so people can see. Thank you, Ms. Collins, for coming on. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for having me.
You're
no
very
problem.
welcome.
And I want to thank Andria again for coming on discussing all the chocolate news. It's greatly appreciated, Andria.
Oh, it's an exciting time to be in the news business, so I'm more than happy to do it.
All right. Well, that's it for today's show, folks. You can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Stash newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. In addition, the Cincinnati Herald is now accepting applications for an advertising representative. So please call or text our publisher, Walter White, at 513-680-7076 for more information. And once again, please vote. It's your future. I'm John Alexander Reese.
And I'm Andria Carter.
And have a good day.